warm welcome to you as we consider one of the most important and famous teachings of Jesus, recounted in Luke's Gospel. The text I'm referring to is in the description box under the video. Let's begin with love your enemies. The word agape in Greek, translated as love into English, does not mean romantic love. It also doesn't mean liking or friendship. It means a desire for the well-being of the other. So it's not about internal feelings or internal desires. It's about behavior. It's not even about being kind. It's about what we might call in English civilized behavior. That is, not trampling on other people's vegetable patches, being careful for everybody's children, not just one's own, not stealing from others what is precious to them. So all in all, this love agape that Jesus is talking about, it's sort of civilized behavior. It's the antithesis of dishonesty or gaining by violence and physical strength or social power. It's not about respectability. It's not about being seen to be good. It's just that general level of love towards others that encourages us to behave in a proper way. Jesus is extending this to enemies, so those who have treated us or those we care about badly, and to continue to do good to those who hate, to realize the motivation, to understand the emotions behind bad deeds aimed at oneself or those one loves, but to not respond with a longing for the hater's destruction. So when somebody strikes you on the cheek, which particularly back in this culture was extraordinarily provocative and could lead to vengeance, even death, Jesus cautions against it. Now, a strike on the cheek is not the same as opening oneself up to another person's violent intent, but recognizing that the strike on the cheek is uncomfortable, terribly insulting, but not something that we need to respond to with hate, but continue in that position of love as I've described it. And so also with those who steal and take away things of value that belong to us. Give to beggars, even though in that time as in this, a beggar can often be somebody who has made extremely bad choices and their predicament may be a result of their behavior. It can also be a result, obviously, of incapacity and mental health issues then as now. And Jesus says to give to them, to not stand in judgment and decide whether or not they're worthy. Just give yourself in the other position and do as you would hope somebody would do for you. He goes on to point out that a lot of lending and loving is highly conditional on our own emotional responses to people and our own thoughts of personal gain. And he points out that there's no virtue inherent in that. But finding this position of love, of good behavior towards those who we judge as sinners, those who we judge to have stolen, exploited. Just quietly continue to be and do good, and don't be looking to the reward in that, the rehabilitation or the personal reward. And to find this position in life is to be a child of God, a child of the Most High. As God's mercy is across all creation, including ungrateful and wicked people, find that position in our own lives and hearts and be merciful. To achieve this state, we need to be able to not judge. That is, to suspend the impulse to condemn and categorize people as the worthy and the unworthy, and then to condemn those who we find less worthy. This is not the same as saying all behaviors are of actual equal value, worth, mercy, goodness. And it is not encouragement to give crack cocaine to addicts or machetes to the violent, or the means of ruin and encouragement for people who are on a bad path. Instead, the teaching is aiming inwards at the hearer, to find this non-judgmental, forgiving, easy, loving goodness in oneself, and to live out of that and not overlay it with judgment, then in turn begin to dictate behaviors. So this is how to live as a child of God, out of that communion with God deep within. And in case hearers are thinking that it's the position of continual subjection, the attitude of a sucker or an idiot, not what Jesus is saying at all. He acknowledges there are bad deeds from people who are caught up in their bad attitudes, in their judgments and their desires, who are not in communion with God. So it is not to ignore that position or to condone it as of equal value, and nor is it a Marxist argument about a fairer distribution of wealth, for example. It's the way, he's saying, of living in the goodness of God, to find oneself completely forgiven, to receive this good measure running over, which is the gift of God over creation.